So for business owners in the room then that want to generate leads and they want to build brand, what would be kind of the go-to platform that you would say is working the best for your business now from a paid advertising point of view?
So I think,
where should they be spending their money?
Are we mainly construction businesses in the room? Is that where we're at?
Majority
construction businesses. Okay. So I think that I'll give you a few like basic rules of what I would do, right? So the first thing that I would do, number one, is you need to make sure that you're test. It's all about testing. What you're looking for is one route initially, one route to market. And what I mean by that is the reality is the medium doesn't matter. If you acquire your clients by direct mail, if you acquire your clients by buying databases, doesn't matter. If you acquire your clients by Facebook ads, YouTube ads, none of that really matters. What matters is, have you got a consistent way of acquiring clients? So the way that what you do to start off is you have to test. And that means you spend small amounts of money in different areas to establish whether you're reaching your target market. So you might spend £1,000 testing direct mail. You might spend £1,000 billboard ads. You might spend £1,000 Facebook ads. You might spend £1,000 YouTube ads. And then you see what data, what return was produced off the £1,000 in the different areas. Then you're going to get a feel for where is the message actually getting out to the target market. After you've tested and you've started to understand whether what's going to work, your next step is to then increase spend and make sure that that works at scale. So then you'd take the £1,000 that you spent on Facebook ads, you'd turn it into 2,000 and you contrast the result. And then you would measure, I spent 2,000, I got 2 clients, and from the 2 clients, we made 8,000. Now you've got a 4-to-1 return. Does that make sense to everybody? So what do? You spend 8,000 and then you get a bigger return. And then you keep scaling in that way whilst measuring. And that's really the way to do it. But what you're looking for, what a lot of people do when it comes to their market is they get really confused. And they go, I've got to be on YouTube, I've got to be on Facebook, I've now got to be on TikTok, I've got to be here, I've got to be there. And all of a sudden they move into this position like overwhelmed. It's like, I've got so much to do. Anyone ever felt like that? Yeah? All right. So you don't actually need to you've got to look at marketing in simplistic form of this is the basics. Who's your client? You've got to know that. Who is the person you're trying to reach? It's not about spraying a message out. It's like giving, if you're, the way that you market your business is to give a chimpanzee a machine gun and a chimpanzee comes in and goes, bang, 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 bang. You're not hitting anyone, right? It's just spraying a message out. You might hit one person by accident. You need to be more snipered than that. Who is the client? Then you've got to build a message that resonates with that client. The way you build a message that resonates with the client is you say, hey, what pain are these people in? So this is the client I want. So I don't know, let's take an example. Let's say you want to sell extensions, right? So I want to sell extensions. I want people that got planning for extensions and they want to build these extensions. That's my target market, okay? So what pain are they in? What's the pain around it? Well, they're probably worried right now about how they're going to, might be worried about all the mess it's going to create. They might be worried about how long it's going to take. They might be worried about how much disruption they're going to have. They might be worried there's going to be all this mess everywhere, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're establishing their pain. What's the gain? Then you establish their gain. The gain is, well, their home's going to be beautiful now. They're going to be in a space that's bigger. They're going to be in a place where they walk in and it feels like home. So now we've got the pains, we've got the gains, and we know who we want. So we go out to that person with a pain, gain message, and we get the inquiry. And that's how you resonate with them. So who's the market? What's the magnetic message? And which medium do you take the magnetic message to the client in? That's how you do it. And that will work for any business. And I've done it thousands of times for all different businesses, that process. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Nice to see so many notes being taken. So very, very educational and informative, my man. So really good stuff. Okay, cool. So when you start making money in your business, and you want to create wealth, this is called the Millionaire Mastermind because we want to become multi-millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires. Where do we start putting that money? Can I ask a question first? Go for it. Can I ask a question first? because I think this would be really, really interesting. How many in the room are here because you want to be a millionaire? Maybe you are, or that's the kind of aspiration, you want to be a millionaire. Raise your hand, so that's it. Fabulous. And I've got a really interesting question. How many of you want to actually be a billionaire? Raise your hands. Okay, wow, so you've got a very, very ambitious group. I actually love that, because a lot of the time in a personal development room, people won't even put their hand up for that. Like, genuinely. They haven't got the bottle. Well, that shows you created a good atmosphere in terms of a trusting atmosphere, because you want to have that comfort to say, yeah, I want that. And that's step number one, right? Because you've got to know it in your head before it happens, yeah? So I'll let you finish your question. But I was really intrigued. I wanted to understand you a little bit more, right? I want to understand where you're at.
So what was the question? So you start making some money, right? Yeah. And you want to build wealth. One of the things that really started to strike me probably, 24 months ago, was about opportunity vehicles and understanding the opportunity vehicle that you're in. Understanding a business in a certain sector, in a certain market, can only take you so far. You know my story with Impra, and I tried to dominate the world with one strategy, one business model. And, that was the first business I ever built, national business, 8-figure business, but I tried to take it probably too big, I would say. So knowing that, and after running this business and building this business to a multi-million-pound business and seeing the returns and the profit and the way that it operates, how it's not easier, but it's better than the other business. How do you know when, in your eyes, to continue to take the money that you've got and reinvest it into the same business? Or when do you realise that business has served its time in terms of growth and profitability, and it's either time to exit or it's time to start using that money to fund a bigger opportunity vehicle so you can get to the next level? Because all the will in the world, there aren't many multi-millionaire hairdressers, right? So you're only going to go so far with a hair salon. And if you try and scale the salons based on what you sell the service for, can it cover the overheads? In most cases, not many people have been able to do it, right? Okay. So when I know it's a very complex way that I've asked that question, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. So
if you want to be a billionaire, it's a very different answer to if you want to be a millionaire. Very, very different answer, because there are. I had John Caldwell on my podcast last week. He's one of only 56 British-born billionaires, right? And that's mass market.
He's the guy who built phones for you, right? Yeah,
phones for you. So got into the phone industry at the time, went out, scaled that, right? And that was, he got into the right market at the right time with a product that every single one of you in this room owns, right? And every single one of you carries, and an incredibly mass market appeal. So if you want to be a billionaire, the opportunity vehicle is pretty much everything. Because you ain't going to become a billionaire doing paper clips. You ain't going to become a billionaire doing paper mache puppets, right? The vehicle matters. But actually becoming a millionaire is actually a lot more simple than that. It's much, much, much more simple. Or, and then there's millionaire. So are we talking here millionaire as in million in revenue business? Are we talking paper millionaire in assets? Or are we talking £1 million in the bank, right?
Let's say £1 million in the bank.
Okay, so £1 million in the bank. So £1 million in the bank through business or through wealth creation?
Well, once you start making money in your business, let's say you're making 100,000 a year, and you've come to realise that business is making you 100 grand a year, and there's no point scaling it any further. It won't scale. So I'm getting 100 grand a year. So what do I do now? Where do I take that money?
Okay.
Where do I put that money?
So I would say, look, should I give you a bit of background of how I think it's the easiest way for me to do is to give you a bit of background, right? So when I was, if I take you back to when I was a young lad and I was 16 years old, I used to write everything down. I used to write my notes down, and what had happened to me is where the ambition had been created. And I'm a big believer in being self-aware, right? So where the ambition had been created for me to be a millionaire was that in the 90s, my dad lost everything, and we used to have nice houses, nice cars, we had everything, right? And in the 90s, he lost it all, lost everything. And we went from being a reasonably well-off family to my mum and me and my two brothers living in a transport cafe, literally in a transport cafe. So we were in the back. My mum used to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, serve lorry drivers breakfasts, get us to school, pick us up from school, do absolutely everything, right? So for me, I'd had a lot and then I'd had nothing, right? And then I also still had friends that I used to go to school with that had a lot. So I had this kind of drive created in me from a very young age that I wanted to make money, right? And that was my mentality. So what actually happened is at that age, when I was about 16, I started to get big dreams. I wanted to start to do more. And I remember writing down, I want to be a millionaire on a piece of paper. And I remember my older brother and one of his friends, Alex, finding this piece of paper and ridiculing me for this ambition. Now, the first thing there is, you can either listen to my big brother, Alex, and Mark and Alex, and you can let that affect you and you can not go and achieve anything. And you can take that as fuel. And I decided to take that as a fuel. So when I went out, I started doing more, I started going faster, and I started really knuckling down and working hard. By the time I was 19, I was working at Ford, and I was earning £75,000 a year at 19 selling cars. That's how I started. And I remember telling two people I really respected, one sat next to me, a guy called Terry, the other one sat next to me called Brad. I said to both of them, well, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. And I remember them both laughing at me in hysterics, like literally. And I thought, like, because other people just don't think like you think. So the first thing I want to kind of make you aware is how you think, if you put your hand up to that question, is probably different to a lot of other people think. And I remember that, but this is what happened, is I left Ford at 21 because I was like, I ain't going to be a millionaire here, earning 75 grand a year. So then I went over, I worked for AMS there, so I worked for Alan Sugar's company, nice. Leasing private jets, made even less money. Then I moved and I went to BMW and I started making 100 grand a year by the time I was 21, 22. I got to about £120,000 a year working at BMW, and I made a decision, I ain't going to be a millionaire working here. I wanted to be a millionaire by the age of 30. So I left that business at 24 and I started my own business. When I started my own business, I had absolutely no clue about anything. I was cocky, I thought I knew everything. I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. I knew nothing about strategy, I knew nothing about marketing, I knew nothing about branding. I was like literally green as they come. And the first 3-4 years in that business, I didn't have any mentors, I didn't have any coaches, and I got whooped, right? Business taught me a few hard lessons, right, along the way. But eventually, after working it out, getting the right mentors, getting the right coaching, I started to make some breakthroughs. And I took that business, first time I did $1 million, then I got it to 2.9, then I got it to 4.3, then I got it to 6.8 million, then I got it to 13 million, then I got it to 24.8 million, I got it to 33.9 million. So by the time I was 29 years old, I had became a millionaire, net in the bank, million pound. By the time I was about 27, I was a paper millionaire. By the time I was about 29, I was a net millionaire. And that was, first of all, so the reason I'm telling you this story is, first of all, it was the commitment, I'm going to do this. That's like the first thing you got to do. You got to say, I want it so bad that no one's going to take it off me. No one's going to take it off me. And you have that passion. And I see that in you, Joseph, a lot. You know, Joseph has that. You know, he's just got like, you ain't talking about nothing, right? You know, you're obsessed. And I think you've got that obsession, that sacrifice. And I had that, and I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked. And eventually I got it. Now, the reality was that I did that in a finance business and a car business. And it wouldn't matter if it's a construction business. It actually wouldn't matter if it was a software business. I think, you know, you said check a trade.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter because it's about you. And if you want to build a business yourself and it's in construction, my next door neighbour, who is worth £200 million, that I actually bought my house off, he parcelled off 4.5 acres of his land and sold it to me, right? And this guy's very, very wealthy. He's in construction. You know, I know many, many, many successful people in construction. The difference is, so the vehicle to getting you to become a millionaire in construction, so construction and property, which are both aligned, I think is a great vehicle. So I wouldn't necessarily say to anybody they need to change. The thing that needs to change is you, what you're actually doing, your activities. You know, so for example, if you're going out and you're on the tools, or you're going out and you're fixing things up and you're going out and doing it, your first risk you've got to take is saying, doing that no more. And you need to take that step back and you need to put people in place and you need to get it done. You know, and then you need to then look at the market and say, how am I going to scale the market? Then you need to get good at the numbers and scale the acquisition, and then your businesses grow. I don't think there's anyone that couldn't become a millionaire in this room that couldn't. from construction. So I don't think they need to change the model.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's the answer that you're looking for, but
No, it's a good answer. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's just what's your take on it.